Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Guyett. I'm the Associate Director of the UMass Lowell Innovation Hub. Welcome to Maximizing the Benefits of Online Networking Events. This is our webinar series. The UMass Lowell Innovation Hub is a business incubator and co-working space. We have two locations in Lowell and Haverhill. We serve early stage startup companies and entrepreneurs. So between our two sites, we have over 50 companies and entrepreneurs who are members, and we work with them and support them in running their business. So we focus on technology companies, but we have a lot of other different types of businesses who are part of our center as well. We are part of UMass Lowell, the university, part of the UMass system. This is our new webinar series. We've been doing these every couple of weeks in lieu of our programming, which used to be in person at one of our centers, but we've adapted and been able to enjoy sort of some different opportunities that we get through the online engagement and online webinars. So obviously we have people joining us from all over. We're not restricted by getting here and traffic and location, whether you're close to Lowell, Massachusetts or Haverhill, Massachusetts. And I think what I'm most excited about today is kind of learning how do we make the most out of these events that we're doing. I know I have personally missed a lot of that in-person interaction. I attend a lot of events normally. I host a lot of events. I'm always meeting people, and I have a hard time kind of making that connection online and sort of building those relationships that sort of happen sort of organically when you run into somebody in an event, or you keep seeing the same people at an event, and then you strike up a conversation. So I'm really excited for our workshop here today. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kevin. Let's see here, I think I just stopped screen share. So I can pull up my bio of Kevin. Bear with me. While I do that for today's event, feel free to have your video on if you would like. We are going to make this interactive. Kevin's not doing a slide presentation, so he would love to see who he's talking with. And we also want to encourage anybody to comment or share, whether it's in the chat or, raising your hand and speaking, or just speaking up as Kevin directs the session, so we can make this interactive and not just Kevin talking to a bunch of empty screens here. So whatever you feel comfortable with. So our speaker today is Kevin Willett. Kevin's from Lowell. He's the founder of Friends of Kevin Networking Group and CEO of the New England B2B Networking Group. He's no stranger to the needs of busy professionals. He has years of experience in corporate business development and finance, as well as a successful entrepreneur and business owner. His continuous entrepreneurial growth is due to a combination of his skills in effective networking, creative marketing, plus mastery of the wide array of social media outlets. Born in Lowell, Kevin was 8th of 9 children. His neighborhood is made up of large ethnically diverse families, a good base for the over 30,000 social media connections he has today. You see Kevin out in public and ask who he is or what's new. His reply is always, living the dream, my friend. His goal is to help you live the dream too. He's the author of One Connection, How You Can Grow Your Business and Change the World One Connection at a Time. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us today, and I will turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity, Stephanie, and I appreciate it. So basically, the world changed on us, and a lot of us don't want to accept that. I think this all starts online, starts with acceptance. You got to understand that things have changed, and you can't just wait it out. So I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he's like, Kev, we got to go back to in-person events, and we got to do it soon. And I'm like, okay, what's your plan? And he's just like, I don't want to do online. I need to shake hands. Everything Stephanie said, he misses that. I miss going to events, seeing people, making new contacts. It's just not an option right now. And for those of you who are just telling me, hey, you know what, Kev, I'm going to wait for in-person events, not to be overly dramatic, but how long can you wait? Are you willing to bet your business on it? For me, as a networking guy, when this happened, totally shut my business down. Nothing. Couldn't do a thing. And I looked at it and said, well, what can I do? Luckily for me, I had the vision of going online 2 years ago. It was really funny because I looked at it and said, okay, it's just not a good use of time to go to in-person events. I think it could be more effective online. And nobody believed me. Like, no, that's not how it works, Kevin. You shake hands, you sit across from people. That's how networking works. Now, what's really ironic is I've had a few people who wouldn't come to events online. They're like, no, never going to happen. And I had one guy on the call with me last week, and he's like, hey, Kev, good news, bad news, brother. Go ahead. He's like, good news, I love in-person events and online events. What's the bad news? Never coming to an in-person one again. Because it's 1 hour, Kev. I talk to everybody, and then I go back to work. So the things have changed, and we have to adapt. Even if you don't believe in it right now, try to do it for a little bit. Because no one has the answer as to when we're going to go back in person. You can guess like everyone else, but that's all it is a guess. So just try to be a little bit more open to it and see if you can try a few events. Now, why I like them better, as I just mentioned, it saves time and money. You don't have to drive to the events. You don't have to be there early. You don't have to bring lunch. So that helps. Think about a typical 1 hour event. It's really 2 hours. You got to drive there. You can't walk, if it's a 12 o'clock event, you can't walk in at 11:59. You don't leave right at 1. You're there 10 minutes on each side. You got to spend the time driving. So we found a way to eliminate on that. To me, it makes me more productive. So far today, I've had 2 calls. I've ran a networking event, and now I'm talking to you. Never could have done that in real life, and if I had to drive to places. So for me, a lot more productive. I can stay focused. It's not like, oh, geez, or, hey, I had 4 meetings today, so that means I've drank 4 Mountain Dews, had 4 cookies. So I'm not doing that anymore. So that's definitely helping. But it just makes you more productive. Think about life. You go out to meet someone for coffee, and you're hoping to have a business relationship with them. And about 8 minutes in, you realize it's not going to happen. Now you're like, well, I don't want to be rude to Stephanie. I don't want to just get up and leave. So you end up sitting there, trying to make small talk. With online, if it's a 10-minute conversation, no one's offended. You're like, okay, we chatted, we got what we need to get done. All right, I'll let you go, and you move on, go do other things. So I just find it's a lot better on using my time and stuff. So, plus what I like about it, today we had an event, 6 of the people I've never met before. So it gives you a chance to meet new people. I'm surprised how many people only want to network in their town. And then they get sad because they see the same people. I'm like, well, you guys are in Lowell, you could go to Chelmsford. I'm not going to make you come to Drake because you got to go over the bridge, and no one's going over the bridge. I understand that, but it's just funny. Everyone wants to stay in their town, and then they get mad that they're meeting the same people. My dream has always been to eliminate geography, and that's what online does. Look at this call today. There's people all over the world. If we were at the iHub, most of you wouldn't be here. You're not going to drive in. So that really helps make it a lot more efficient. We can connect people that never would have met it any other way. I just was on the phone earlier with a woman from Florida. She's going to come to our online events. She never would have come to an in-person event. She lives in Florida. So it's allowing you a better opportunity to network and to grow your connections. So that's why I think you guys should consider it. Common reasons people don't: technology. I'm not good with technology. Zoom's super easy, guys. You lost that excuse. You click the button and it comes up. But I get a lot of people, I'm not good with technology. Or I have people who like, hey, Kev, I can't do it, I have kids. Now, maybe it's just me, but I don't care if your kids are in the background. It's this part of life right now. Yeah, you got to do your best to try to control it a little bit, but if your son or daughter comes in the middle and asks for a cookie and whatever, I don't care. So stop saying no to networking because of the technology challenges. If you're not comfortable using Zoom, practice with a friend. It's free. Anyone can use it. That way you can see, hey, how do I do this? How do I get the camera right, the light? But please don't use them. I'm not good with technology. I get a lot of people tell me that. But I'm like, it's an easy fix. And the fact that you have kids or other people at home, it's okay. Like I said, just accept it and we can just move on. Technical stuff. You got to think about your background. So the other day we have a networking event, guys on the call, all of a sudden someone starts rolling around in bed behind them. I'm like, what's going on behind you? Oh, that's my girl. She's sleeping. It's a laptop, my friend's laptop. It's someplace else. No one sleeping in beds behind you. Think about what's behind you just for distraction purposes too. I know I get distracted easy while I'm looking, going, what's behind Stephanie? It looks like a clock. You know, what I did, I bought a movie projector screen. I just pull it down, shut down. That way you don't see. Um, Please don't try to use your head. One of my friends, that's how he tries to solve his messy office. He leans up against the camera, so all you see is his head, so you can't see nothing behind him. It's super freaky. Don't do that. Like you said, just move your laptop so hopefully you have like a white wall or something behind you. That way no one's being distracted. But think about who else is home. Make sure everyone knows you're on camera. You know, we've all seen the stories of people walking by in towels and everything else. You know, just, hey, honey, I'm going live on Zoom. Please stay out of the room type of thing. Don't network and drive. I get a lot of people doing this, driving down 495, you know, looking down at their phone. Please don't do that. If you signed up for an event and you're running late, try to pull over someplace with steady Wi-Fi. But I get a lot of people looking down the whole time. It makes me super nervous. I don't need it to be, hey, remember Kev's event when that guy crashed? You know, that's just not going to help with the brand. Don't walk and network. It's funny how many people try to multitask and get their steps in and then move in the phone like this the whole time. I'm like, okay, I'm getting queasy. Can you like stop? You know, hold the phone steady. You got a lot of people doing that. Again, your camera position should be eye level as possible. A lot of people put it down on the desk and look down on it. Just looking up on your face, it's not a flattering view. So try to have it level where we can see it. A lot of people had a lady do this to me the other day. She wanted to sit out at her pool at the networking event because she thought it was cool. Well, the Wi-Fi don't work at the pool. So if you keep freezing up, it's distracting. Please go in the house. I know you want to be outside. Like, look at me with my fancy pool, and then the sun's hitting your laptop. I can't see you. So you look like you're in witness protection program type of thing. Get back inside, stay in front of your camera where I can see you. And shut down all your other programs. I have a lot of people, they're running, their stuff in the background and it keeps freezing. And I joke when you're going live, like my wife monitors my calendar so she knows, like, don't start streaming Netflix right now so it doesn't crash the video. Think about who else is home. Hey, everybody, if you could stay off Netflix for a little while, keep me the bandwidth so it doesn't freeze up. Because that's the type of stuff that just distracts people. And we're in the middle of a conversation and you freeze. So then you have to reset your computer and then you lose your time networking. Think about your virtual backgrounds. It was awesome this morning. Had a guy on a call and his wife decided to make his virtual background from Beauty and the Beast. He didn't know how to change it. So he had to have a little Beauty and the Beast background until we finally took pity on him, go, okay, this is how you change it now that we've all made fun of you for that. But you just got to think about your virtual backgrounds. A lot of people like them. They work good if you're staying, don't move your head a lot. If you move around a lot, you see some motion behind you. But if you're going to use a virtual background, give some thought to what it is. And this poor guy, he was like, oh my God, no one knew what it was until finally when someone's like, that's from Beauty and the Beast. And then everyone laughs. So think about your backgrounds. It's definitely going to help you. So now it's time to attend the event. Guess what? The same rules apply online as in person. Show up on time. Real big. A lot of people, they treat it very casually. If the event's at 12, if it's an event where we're all speaking, you should be there at 5 off. That way, when you have Beauty and the Beast background, you have 5 minutes to fix it. But when you show up late and you're holding everybody else up, like my events are speed networking, so we match people. We need an even number and we start right on time. So if you're late, it throws off the event. Also, if you're on an event where everyone's gonna have a minute or two to talk, show up on time. I get people like, oh, I'll show up halfway through. That way I only have to spend 30 minutes on it and I'll still have my chance to talk. You wanna be respectful. Show up on time, be prepared so that you're not holding people up. Rule of thumb, at least 5 minutes early. Because we all do it, you're trying to finish that last call or whatever it may be, and you look down, you're like, oh my God, it's 12:15. I was supposed to call in 15 minutes ago. You gotta be respectful. Also, dress like you're going to an in-person event. Some people have been super casual. I had a woman in her bathrobe the other day. It's like, okay, would you wear a bathroom to an in-person event? I joke, at least comb your hair, because I know I've been guilty of that. You look going, oh my God, I should at least comb my hair. But give some thoughts to that, get up, get dressed, get ready for the event. If you wouldn't dress that way into an in-person event, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Then etiquette. So this happened to my buddy the other day. He was on a call, 30 people. Everyone was going to have a couple minutes to speak. A couple minutes is 1, 2, 3 tops. So the first person gets up, oh, you have a couple minutes. Went on for 15 minutes. Second person goes, guess that's the rule. He went on for 15. So my buddy's like, there's 30 people on the call. At 45 minutes in, only 3 people had spoken. Everyone was really, really mad. Don't be that person. We get excited, like, oh my God, look at all these people I can talk to. And we want to go into in-depth about our business. And what happens? People get mad at you. They're like, I'm never going to do business with that person because they just took up the whole event. Don't be that person, because it happens. You get excited and you're like, oh my God, here's my chance. And then next thing you know, everyone's mad at you. Again, when you're on etiquette, you want to mute your mic. That way we're not picking up background. I had that, someone was arguing in the background. I've had that with students, but their parents are yelling at them. Just make sure you mute your microphone so you don't get caught on any of that. If it's the type of event that requires a camera, please leave your camera on. We see people do that. As soon as you turn your camera off, I know that you're not paying attention anymore. So leave your camera on. Always pay attention to the speaker. I know you think you're slick and you can text or whatever while they're talking. You can't. Because as soon as your head moves down or you're not looking at the camera anymore, I know you're not paying attention. And it's just being fair. If it's your turn to talk, talking, but listen to everyone else, because it's disrespectful. Like, oh, I had my chance to talk, so now I'm going to turn off my camera or just start texting and wait for the event to end. It's not helping you build that relationship. So you want to pay attention. Try to stay the whole time. I get people that come into events and then, halfway through, like, well, I got to go now. And they make a big deal out of it. If something happens and you have to leave, just leave quietly. Don't announce you have this major crisis, because people, especially once you do it the second time, you lose the respect for people. So you just got to learn to be respectful. And so what do you say? That's the biggest thing. People like, what do I say? First of all, think about how much time you have. If you have 3 minutes, you got to come up with something that's 3 minutes long. Now, people make fun of me because, as you mentioned, I'm a professional networker. I absolutely positively dislike elevator pitches. Can't stand them because most of them don't make any sense. And you should cater your message to the audience. What do you want to tell them? So if you have 3 minutes, for me, I want you to tell me why you're different. If you're a realtor, for example, and you tell me you're a realtor and assume I know what that is, you may be wrong. Maybe you do have some specialty, but you want to try to make sure that the person understands what you do and what makes you different. But again, keep it to 3 minutes or whatever the time limit is. In an event like mine, where both people get to speak, remember when I flash is 3 minutes left, that's my way of saying let the other person talk. I talk a lot, I talk fast. So sometimes the person doesn't get a word in edgewise. That's not really fair. So remember, always leave time to let the other person talk. But also just tell them why you're different, what you do and why you're different, because that's what's going to make them stand out. Personally, I'm a story person. Tell me a story about what you do. Years ago, I was at an in-person event and a woman was a private investigator. So I'm like, hey, tell me what you do. I find people. Okay, that hooked me. Are they hiding? Yes, usually. Then she proceeded to tell me a story about how there was some citizens that the international husband decided to take the babies and go home, and they sent the Black Ops team to get them back. Told me that story 10 years ago. I remember it like yesterday because I was like, oh my God. Now, even telling me she was a private investigator probably would have made me ask more questions, but because she had a really good hook story, I remembered it. So you go to the events, and now what do? I try to make sure you exchange contact information. So at my events, I'll send an email. Hey, this was their email address. I always ask for permission before I do that. One of my pet peeves don't add everyone onto your newsletter list just because they signed up for an event. And my friends get mad at me for this. Like, Kev, they can hit the delete button. They can unsubscribe. Well, Kev can't, because if you add me onto your newsletter list and I unsubscribe, you take it personally. Most of us do. You're like, well, I guess Stephanie didn't like me too much. You just unsubscribe from my newsletter list. Don't put people in that situation. So for me, it's all about connecting in as soon as possible. Now, I try to do it right after the event because I know myself. If I don't, it's going to be a week later. My record is I had someone come to an in-person event and they emailed me 3 months later. They told me how awesome it was to meet me. And I couldn't help it. I had to send them an email going, dude, it couldn't have been too awesome. It was 3 months ago. But we do it. We put cards in our pocket. We find them 3 months later. They go, geez, I probably should have followed up with Tom by now. So do it as quickly as possible. But understand not everyone's going to want to connect with you. I have people who get mad. You're like, well, I sent Tom a connection request on LinkedIn and it's still sitting there, or maybe you didn't take it. Now, not everyone's like me. I connect with everyone. And I'll tell you in a little bit why I do that. But, if you send them a connection request, they don't accept it, or they don't want to, have a Zoom call afterwards, not everyone's going to be open to working with you. And it's not personal. They may already have a relationship in that area, or they think that they don't need, a relationship in that area. So if they reject you, please don't take it personally. And honestly, guys, it took me a long time to get past that. I'm like, I had a great conversation. Why don't they want to talk anymore? Because you're thinking, he's going to want me to join his networking group, and I don't want to. So, that's going to happen. Don't take it personally. But the reason I connect with everyone is because life taught me to. So my first business is Friends of Kevin. It's more of a business to consumer model. I would meet business, it's not a match. My joke would be, hey, Tom, give me a hug before you go because I'm never going to see you again. Then 5 years later, I decided to start B2B. And I'm like, God, I wish I connected with those people. I didn't see the big picture. I'm like, oh. Then I did it again, online events. Joking before the event with Stephanie, I meet a lot of people who aren't in this area, and I call them geographically undesirable people. If you're in Florida, okay, we can connect, but what does it accomplish? Then we brought the online events in. I'm like, oh, I wish I would have connected with all those people that I looked at and said, why? They're never going to come to an event. This doesn't make any sense. So you just don't know where life's taking you. Those of you on the call, have you ever changed your career? Have you ever done something totally different? I get people very narrow-minded, just like, no, I only want to connect with people who will do business with me today. It's like, well, but what happens when you switch careers? As most of us do, then you'll wish you were connected with them. So even if you're not sure why you're connecting with people, connect with them. You may be surprised how it helps you. For me, by being open to connecting with everyone, it's just grown my network because people reach out to me. One guy was funny. He sent me a Facebook friend request. I'm like, hey, why are you connecting with me? Because we have 498 friends in common. Assume you must be a decent person. But it gives you legitimacy. If you see you're connected to other people, they're going to reach out to you. And it's just funny. I joke, the first 10,000 connections are the hardest to get. After that, they just keep flying in because you're connected to everybody at that point in time. So again, be open to it, even if you're thinking, hey, it may not be a match. I have a friend, she's tough. She will not connect with you on social media unless she knows you personally or has done business with you. Because in her eyes, if we're connected on LinkedIn, she is giving you a thumbs up saying Stephanie is an amazing person and you should do business with her. If that's your point of view, totally fine. We just have a little difference of opinion on that one. So again, follow up. My expression is if you don't follow up, you were never there. Because people assume that you're going to remember them. This one poor guy got mad at me because he came to an event, and as my daddy would say, God rest my daddy's soul, he was very braggadocious. He's like, this was my 7th networking event this week, and it was like Tuesday or something. And I'm like, wow, how do you find time to follow up with people? I gave them my card. And when you're supposed to just walk away and you can't, I'm like, all right, let's play a game. He's like, okay, think about an event you went to a month ago. How would you remember who was there? And he's like, and he just walked away. I'm like, you won't, because it's funny. I get people will call me like, hey, do you remember that event at the iHub? There was a guy wearing a black shirt. I want to connect with him. I'm like, what do you do? I'm not really sure. He did this. And what's scary is I can usually remember it. I can't remember how to get home, but I can remember an event 6 months ago what people were wearing. Just a gift, luckily for me. But it happens all the time. We're sitting there going, okay, I'll usually joke, give me a couple minutes to think back, but they're like, oh, this person did this, and I'm trying to remember. I may not have seen them in 6 months either, but they expect me to remember. So by connecting with them, it's going to open up that door so you'll be able to find more people. So don't believe just because you gave it your card, they're going to remember you and stuff. So right now, wrap it up. Online events are your only option. Even if you're fighting it, why not give it a try? What I've seen is that people who've tried it love it. They're like, I see it now. I'm meeting new people. It's quick. It's 1 hour. We're in and out. It's really working well. Try one, see if you like it. But if you're still fighting, like a lot of my friends are saying, the in-person events are coming back. Eventually, you'll be right. But how long can you wait? Again, in my case, as an online networker, I couldn't. If I would have waited, I would have been out of business. It just really wouldn't have worked. I would have been like, I just don't know what to do now, because it would have been, hey, remember a year ago when you came to my events, you really liked them? It would have been literally starting over. And that's a huge task. I'm hoping that you're going to be open to this and find a way to continue to grow your business, because without that, it's going to be kind of challenging. So that's what I have for you. I wanted to go about 30 minutes so that I could leave some time for questions. Tell me what your concerns are about attending online events. Why don't we start there? You can either type it, flip your mic on, whatever you want to do.
I'll start
Hey,
if people are thinking.
Kev, can I jump in?
Sure.
Given the number and just the quantity of opportunities out there, how do you vet? I mean, you only have so much time. How do you vet and qualify which ones may be of more impactful overall?
Sure. For me, Tom, it is some of it's trial and error, to be honest. And also, I use my network. If it's an event I've never been to, I'll reach out to people saying, hey, has anyone gone to an event at the iHub? Can I get some feedback on it? But you bring up a great point, Tom. You have to look at where your potential clients and referral partners are. Not every event's going to be a good use of your time. For me, people make fun of me because I'm brutally honest about myself. If someone calls me and asks me about the event, if I don't think it's a match, I'm going to tell you straight up, Tom, love you, but don't waste your time by coming to the event. And people will make fun of me for it. They're like, well, I'm like, Tom, I can't lie to you, bud. If you're going to come to an event and at the end of it, you put your arm around me and you're like, hey, Kev, why did I come besides you wanted to make $20? Then, that's the end of our relationship and stuff. Some of it's trial and error. Some of it just reaching out to people who've attended in the past and asking for feedback and knowing, who your audience is. And if nothing else, reach out to the host and hope they're honest with you. Because I have people, who are looking to meet Fortune 500 companies. And I'm like, Tom, I'm not a referral source for you on this. If that's your target market, or they may be looking to meet, higher end technology companies. I'm like, it's just not a match, bud. So hopefully the hosts will be honest about their events for you too. Thanks.
How do you balance the social media a little bit more? So, you have your LinkedIn and your Facebook and your Twitter, and then maybe some of us, people have a personal account and then they have an account for their business or their brand. What is it better to have, is it all one and you connect to everybody? Do you keep your lives separate in different ways? Or
For me, it's all one. A lot of people, because I have friends, to your point, Stephanie, one lady in particular, and when you send her a Facebook friend request, she tells you, straight up, I'm willing to accept you, but understand you may not like what I post. Where, she's like, I express my opinions. So if you're going to be offended, you might want to just like my business page. For me, because of what I do, I am friends accountant. So it's all one, where you're going to see a picture of me playing with my nephews, then a picture of me hanging out with you. That works for me. A lot of people like to keep it separate, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're like, you know what? I don't know you personally. I'd prefer you, just be a fan of my business page, and I don't want to connect with you on Facebook. I'd rather keep my life separate. And there's nothing wrong with that. I prefer just to blend it all into one. For me, one of the things I did that really helps me on social media, I did it on a whim one day, is I just took pictures with people. You know, if I run into an event, I'm just like, you know, come on, put my arm around you, take a picture, put it on social media. And it amazes me how many people will connect with me on it. I have one female friend, she's funny, because she tells me every time she knows she's gonna see me, she wears a different outfit. She's like, I can't be seen in the same outfit. So one day she texts me a picture randomly. I'm like, what's this for? She's like, I can wear this dress again because I'm not seeing you today. But, you know, it's like they're running joke with people like, hey, make sure you dress up because you know he's going to want to take a picture. But for me, it's a way to help grow your following by saying, hey, this is my friend Stephanie. This is what she does. Reach out to her if you need help. And then when your friends like the picture, gives me an opportunity to grow too. But from a business standpoint, you have to see what works for you. For me, it's been really unique. I do Facebook Live almost every day, just sharing tips. And now all of a sudden doing it on LinkedIn has been way more popular. I'm getting much more traction on LinkedIn. So I always tell people just, you know, evaluate it. Where's your audience? Where are you getting the feedback? And put your efforts there. But for right now, for me, it's been totally on LinkedIn. So
Seeing a couple questions
Yeah.
here, I'll read them for you. First, Jill Francis, what is your opinion on those that add their company name to their display name?
I mean, I think it makes it easier. You know, it helps. I mean, I see a lot of people do that here on Zoom. It just, if nothing else, to try to make you remember it, so maybe you can jot it down. You know, I think it makes sense and stuff. So,
A question from Sean. What have you found to be a good resource to find online networking events that are not part of a mailing list or association you are a member of?
Eventbrite Meetup. Honestly, I find a lot of people reach out to me because they find my events on Eventbrite. So Eventbrite and Meetup have been really gold for me.
And another one. Oh, and here's somebody using their business name, Diligence Path Solution. On the business side, how are you seeking those types of events? I can't tell you how many webinars are available. For instance, this event, why not share the attendee list with those that attended?
That's a double-edged sword, my friend. On my events that people are paying for, I do share. It's only 10 people. The reason we don't, my question back to you, have you ever gone to an event and you met somebody and you're just like, you know, you just want to get away from them, unfortunately? I just gave you your phone number and email address. Now, how do you feel? That's why, you know, I had groups, people yell at me, hey, I go to this group and they share the list. And I just don't like it because then, you know, you end up on newsletters, spamming. You know, if you wanted to connect with them, I assume you would have given them your card. So that's why a lot of groups, me personally, I'm not a huge fan of it because then you end up on the newsletter list. My friend, what happened to him, he signed up for an event and he was sick, he didn't go. And he got an email 3 times from a person saying how great it was meeting him at the event. He's like, you know, I know you just took the list and just send that message to everybody. But again, you know, it's one thing if you're going to use the list saying, hey, you know what, I met Stephanie, you know, I want to follow up on something, or, you know, she told me, you know, this was happening at that. I just want, hey, you mentioned you had a big event. How did it go, Steph? I just want to, you know, follow up with you. But if you're just going to spam everyone on the list, it's just going to make people not want to come. So that's why, you know, people don't want to share it.
Yeah.
Kev, can I ask you a question?
Sure. Hey, what's going on, Jim? How you doing, bud?
Good. It's nice to see you. You mentioned during these events, sometimes you'll pair people up. Is it intentional pairing, or do you just randomly do it? How do you go about that?
It's only 10 people, Jim, so you spend 6 minutes with everybody. That way, because to me, it's the only way to really make it work, because, you know, that way no one feels slighted, like, hey, why did I get to talk to Jim and this guy didn't? So that way everyone feels the same. Everyone has the same 6 minutes with each other. But I know I've tried that in the past to try to match people, but then sometimes you have somebody that's a little more challenging to match. I think that was politically correct. You know, so you're trying to, you know, and then you feel bad. It's like, well, you know, now what do I do? If you treat everyone the same, you never feel bad about anything. So One of the questions is, do you send individual chats? In my events, basically what's happening is everyone's going to get to chat, so there's not a need for that. There's nothing wrong with if there's a group event with 30 people and you're sending individual chats to people. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's not impacting the event. It's not distracting anyone. So it's totally good. And like I said, it would give you a way to kind of connect with people.
Another question we got, how do you get people to turn on their cameras, especially students?
As a professor, I don't start until they do. I'm like, guys, you know, you got to turn on your camera. It's going to be a long class because I'm not starting until you do. And what's really weird, I haven't really had a problem. Occasionally someone's camera's broken, you know, but I'm like, hey, you know, I know you have your phone, just jump on Zoom on your phone. But, you know, honestly, it hasn't been. And for the networking events, everyone's in it to grow their business and to meet people. So asking them to turn on the cameras really hasn't been an issue at all.
Here's another one. To engage attendees in webinars with 10 or more is related to learning or enabling skills. Are polls and discussing in breakout rooms effective?
Me, I'm a huge fan of the breakout rooms. You know, we use them for the networking events because, you know, a lot of groups are just trying to do an event and have 20 people in one room and take turns speaking, you know, and I just find that people get distracted. You know, it's like, okay, you know, I already know some of these people. So it's easy to pick up your phone or start doing something else. By using the breakout room feature, you keep everyone engaged. Like, okay, now, you know, Tom and Stephanie are going into the chat room. Me and Jim will move people around. So you always have someone new to be talking to. I find it much more effective than just letting people go in rotation, 30, 40 people. And at the end, they'll be like, oh my God, this is taking forever. So I found that works a lot better. So in the breakout sessions on Zoom, there's a breakout room feature. You just click on breakout rooms, set up as many rooms as you want, and then you can move people over to the breakout rooms. Just a funny aside, before all of this happened, I've been, the people at Zoom make fun of me because I want them to customize the software just for me, because now you have to move people from room to room. I'm trying to get them to make it so I can set a timer and it would automatically randomize people every 6 minutes. I'm like, guys, you'd make them killing off of this, and then they don't need me anymore. They're making plenty of money now. But one of the engineers actually emailed me. He goes, just so you know, we make fun of you. Because like, who do you think you are that we should customize the software just for you? But I'm like, I'm telling you, as a networking guy, it's going to be a godsend. You could make it, because now you're going to move people from room to room. And if you're trying, you know, geez, I already put Stephanie in with Jim, and I just did it again. It would be definitely kind of a fun thing. So that's how breakout room sessions work. You can move people. You can actually set them up in advance if you know who's coming. So it definitely really helps. Do you have any more questions?
Have you noticed virtual backgrounds impacting the video or sound quality on calls, on either small or larger calls?
Yeah, on the video side, like I mentioned, if you is sitting still, I like them. If you move a lot, it just like, woo, it has this like weird effect to me. You see the people back of people's heads. It's just, I'm not a huge fan of virtual backgrounds. You know, I like it better than your messy office, but you know, you have to kind of sit still with virtual backgrounds. Otherwise, they have a weird effect to me. All right, I'll patent the idea. We can use it for the breakout rooms. I wish I could get them to customize it for me.
I think that would be a great feature. How do you decide which software to use after Zoom, MS Teams, WebEx, Adobe Connect are getting popular?
Honestly, I just was comfortable with Zoom, so I just kind of stayed with it. I find it's simple to use. I did have a call with someone using WebEx and Adobe Connect. I found it was a little more complicated for the everyday person. With Zoom, I send you a link, you click it, you're in. I mean, it's not really that complicated. But again, it all comes down to whatever you're comfortable with. I haven't had an issue with Zoom. And I just jinxed myself, I'm sure. But it works for me. And I find that no one's really been having a problem with it. So you don't have to download anything. You just click the link and jump in.
What I have a question. what do you recommend people do when they're, they're not on an event, but they want to connect with people? Maybe they see somebody on LinkedIn that they have a couple connections in common. Do you ask somebody to make a recommendation? Do you just sort of cold outreach to people because, you can't meet them for coffee now? Is it weird to say, hey, do you want to have a Zoom chat with somebody you don't know?
I like when people, like, for me, I take in everyone. So, but I would prefer, if you want to get connected to people, that you just use the mutual contact. Hey, I noticed you're connected to Stephanie. Would you mind introducing me? Because not everyone's open to random connection requests. As Tom mentioned, your time's valuable. It's like, okay, I know if I connect to Tom, that the next email is going to be, hey, can you, do you want to have a Zoom chat? Do you want to do this? So I find the easier it is to do that. And you also have to be careful, because I've been there. If you connect with too many people you don't know on LinkedIn, you go into LinkedIn jail, where you can't connect with anyone. When I first started, I spent my time in jail for violating LinkedIn policy, because they don't want you just randomly connecting with people. And again, and you're in a sales position, you're reaching out to people. My business, trying to get people to come to events, spend a lot of time randomly reaching out to people, and eventually they throw you into LinkedIn jail for that.
I'm curious if folks on the call, I would love if people would just type in the chat, what kind of business you're in, what you're doing, give us a sense of, your company or what you're looking for, or even where you are geographically. And then I think people might be able to scroll through the chat and see if there's any connections that anybody might want to make.
And again, you feel free to reach out to me on social media if you want to connect. Just send me a message. Again, when you are connecting with people on LinkedIn, you should always customize your invitation so they know why you're connecting with them. So Joshua, what's your podcast about?
What other tips do you have, Kevin, now that this is going to be the new normal for the foreseeable future? So, should we practice how we talk on video? Should we do?
Yeah, I agree.
What else should we
It
be
gets
doing?
easier the more you do it. The first few times, people are nervous, like, how does it work? Moving from room to room, they're uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the better. But really, to me, Stephanie, it all comes through the follow-up. You get to meet somebody, you're saying, okay, what are we doing? How's this work? But once you say, you look and go, we could probably do some business together, then you have to take it offline. Schedule a Zoom call afterwards saying, hey, we had 6 minutes if it was my event. I'd like to learn more and stuff. But again, when you're doing that, if people don't connect with you, because it happens to me, people sign up for the events. I'm like, hey, we should talk more. And they're like, oh, he wants to sell me a membership, type of thing. So that some people are not always open to that. And I just learned you just can't take it personally and stuff. But again, reach out right away. Hey, I enjoyed our conversation. I'm a big fan of talking about something we spoke about, because even in a simple event like mine, there's 9 people. I go to the iHub, I saw 75 people, and it's like, okay, I am not sure which one was Jim, type of thing. So you're like, all right, you're trying to connect, and then we meet for coffee, and I'm like, nope, that wasn't Jim I thought was coming today. You have that. So kind of just help them out. Like, hey, we were talking about the Red Sox or whatever. So hopefully it will trigger why you were talking about.
Oh, question from Leslie. What's the best
Yep.
way to make eye contact with a crowd on Zoom?
I just believe, I have a tendency to look at the pictures. Ideally, just look at your camera, that way, because people, I saw it online. Someone said, can you tell if I'm looking at you on Zoom? It's like, well, you're just looking at the camera. So I could be looking at any one of the 3 of you and stuff. So, but ideally look at the camera, it's just easier.
I have another question. How do you keep track of all your contacts? Do you have a database? Is it all in your head? What do you use to keep track of people and reach?
Excel. I actually use Excel, but most of it's a lot of it's in my head though. That's scary because you can only store so much, before it just doesn't make sense anymore. But you bring up a great point. One of the things I'm using Microsoft Notes, because again, as you get to meet more people, you really need to keep notes. Because occasionally I'm like, I don't remember having a conversation with someone. So, if I don't keep notes, then, I'm like, hey, we should chat. Like, oh, Kev, we chatted last week. And that makes people feel like you weren't paying attention. So the more notes you take, the better. Especially, I joke, as you get older, you need more notes and stuff. So,
Kevin, I got another question.
sure.
With some of the bigger events, so upwards towards 100+ people, online virtual events, in thinking about the length of time of those events, what do you deem to be appropriate?
It just, like I said, it's really hard, Jim. If you have 100 people, personally, I would either do a smaller event or use breakout room features. So hey, if we're going to have a discussion, here's the 4 topics. You can just tell us which breakout room you want to be in. But to try to have 100 people and have everyone talk, to me, it's impossible, because again, you're only listening. How long can you put into it? Again, Jim, you gave everyone 1 minute. That's 100 minutes. And no one's going to take the minute. Everyone's going to take a minute plus. So it's really 200 minutes, and it's not practical for online. I either do it as a breakout feature or do it so that there's only a limited number of seats, which again, I like the limited number of seats because it makes it more important. It's like, all right, Jim, if you want to come, you have to commit to, registering, versus, anyone can just walk in at any point in time. But yeah, I've seen people trying to do bigger events and they're getting frustrated, and more importantly, the attendees are getting frustrated and not coming back because no one wants to sit and listen to everyone speak for 2.5 hours. So breakout rooms or make them smaller would be my suggestion.
Great. Anybody else have any questions or comments? I'm just kind of scrolling through. What are the best alternatives to PowerPoint slides while explaining about a topic?
I mean, most people use PowerPoint slides. People make fun of me because I'm just not a slide person. Everyone's like, well, send me your slides. I'm like, well, I actually have some, but they won't mean anything to you because there's just a couple words on each slide to trigger my memory of what I want to say and stuff. But I really haven't found anything that's good. I know, like I said, there's some whiteboard things you can use where you can draw on it, but you want to be cautious about, the use of slides, and it can get very distracting too for people. Or you said if it's not clear, if you're trying to explain something on the slide or you're doing a whiteboard, sometimes you can lose your audience and stuff. So you want to make sure that whatever you're using is clear and people can understand it. But I don't really have a better than a PowerPoint solution for you.
Hey, Kev, just to drive home your point about geographic reach, I see a note from Jose Alvarez from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Anybody further than Puerto Rico on the chat right now? I saw California as well. Fantastic.
That's what's amazing about online, is the way it can connect people. Like I said, Tom, I saw it a couple years ago and just couldn't convince people, because I'm like, if you can do business with people across the country, online is just the way to go. I mean, you're just going to meet more potential clients. And it's funny to watch the transition from people who are like, no, never going to happen, to, why didn't I listen to you 2 years ago? I'm like, well, you really should have, Tom. So you said it's been an interesting transition, and just, again, if you're still fighting it, please stop, give it a try. Again, if it's not for you, it's not for you, but no one has the answer as to when we're going to go back to in-person events, and if we're going to, because there are going to be people who it's going to take them a real long time before they're going to go into a room with 100 people. It's just not something they're going to try to do and stuff. So for me, for the networking event tools, I use Facebook, I use Meetup. Eventbrite has really been my best thing right now. I'm finding a lot of people are registering from my event because we're putting them on Eventbrite. A lot of people just go in, and of course, Google, because, you know, one of the things I had to learn is, you know, SEO. I used to put Friends of Kevin Network, Friends of Kevin event. Well, no one knows what Friends of Kevin is. You know, then I learned, you know, networking event in Lowell is a much better SEO term. So you got to learn that. But again, it just, I like Eventbrite a lot. Title of my book is One Connection. If you just send me an email to kevin@friendsofkevin.com, I'll just shoot you the PDF to the book. That way you can just have the book. I don't want you to buy the book. So just shoot me an email, kevin@friendsofkevin.com. Anyone that's listening, if you want a
Kev,
copy of the book.
Kev, let's grab that and put a link to it on the iHub website.
Sure, I'll shoot that over to you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, like I said, just more than happy to, like I said, share that with you. It's not a problem. You're welcome.
Does anybody have anything else? Questions, comments, things that have worked for you in this time, things that you found helpful, things that didn't work for you, an event you attended or a story, anything, let us know.
Thank you for the nice
Feel
comments.
free to
guys.
unmute yourself.
And
What's your
again,
next event, everybody's? What's your next event today, Kevin? What are you doing next?
eating lunch and taking a nap.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, like I said, everything was early today and stuff. So I do have one call at 4 o'clock. We do a lot of just Zoom calls. For my clients, we do video interviews now. Those have been super popular and stuff. So then right back to events tomorrow and stuff.
Video, like for hiring?
Just to introduce them, my clients, to potential partners. I'm a big fan of video. I love video. I love putting a face to people, because competition is brutal no matter what we do. If I see you and go, you know, and she seems like she's a nice person, I want to do business with her and stuff. But not everyone's as comfortable on video as I am.
Kev, you just touched on an interesting point, taking a nap after this.
Yes.
Zoom, lots of people, myself included, Zoom fatigue.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you deal with that? If you're back to back with this online stuff, there's no downtime.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of Mountain Dew, Tom. You know, but like I said, but when it's over, it's time. You know,
Yeah.
I don't honestly. It doesn't really bother me at all. I like the excitement of it, Tom. You know, I like the quickness. You know, it's quick 30 minutes with Tom. Okay, hey Tom, I gotta jump off. Gotta go talk to Stephanie next. I thrive on it, to be honest. I don't have that issue at all. I have a super short attention span, so it works out really well for me. You know, it's like the excitement of a new person, you know, but yeah, I know a lot of my friends are like, you know, reach out to them, hey, do you want to Zoom? No, I am so sick of Zoom and stuff. Because the great thing is we can do so much more. The bad thing is we can do so much more. I'm talking to people, they're doing 10 Zoom calls a day, and they're like, you know, by the end of it, dude, I just don't want to even look at my computer and stuff. So honestly, the introverts have liked the online networking events better, to be honest. What I'm seeing, because of the structure of my structure, at least, where as an introvert, it's hard to walk up to someone going, hey, Tom, I'm Kevin. These events where it's structured, I took care of that for you. I've just put you in the room with Tom, so you didn't have to walk up to Tom and invite them. And you'll get over that. What's funny is, if you would have known me when I was a young person, I was the shyest kid in the neighborhood, by far. My friends make fun of me for it. They're like, how did you go do what you do? You know, there was someone new you didn't know, you're like, I don't know, Tom, I can't talk to him. So the online events made it easier in my eyes, because it just puts you in the room and like, okay, we're here. So now we can talk. That's what helps.
Great. Well, thank you all for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity. It was great.
I thank you so much, Kevin, for sharing. I think that was really helpful. All of you should go on and connect with Kevin on Facebook and LinkedIn and all of that good stuff. If you don't follow the iHub on Twitter and Facebook, We are online, so just go to our website, uml.edu/ihub, which I put in the chat, so you can find everything there. Same with Kevin. If you just Google Kevin, Friends of Kevin, you'll find all his Facebook and social media. So thank you. We don't have any other programs scheduled yet because we're going to kind of take a little July 4th break. It's a slow time for us, but we will definitely have some more online events soon. If anybody is interested in any specific topics or business related, entrepreneur related, business development, anything that you're interested in, or you know a great speaker, I'm always interested. My colleague Lisa Armstrong is always interested, and our director Tom O'Donnell. We always want to hear from you about how we can bring programs together that can support your business. So thank you all for joining us. And if you have any questions, just reach out to us through our websites. All our contact info is there. And I hope everybody has a great day.